From part one, we learned that a general in charge of the Roswell base was not informed that UFOs even existed, or the fact that we already knew the fact that they existed. But what happened and who already knew, and what and who, with a good helping of why, those things were all flying around. But first, why does all this evidence not add up? Okay, well, let's look at a historical exhibit 2,000 years in the future. First, we have a portable living unit, 4 tires, built so that the larger the animal that you have to harness to this, the higher status that you were, and that these things were called Chevys, living quarters, or Toyota, BMW, and the more unfortunate ones would get smaller living quarters, such as a Ferrari or the Volkswagen Beetle. And what's really bizarre about it is the fact that these strange people had portable city halls that were made like great eagles with wings on them, and they would tow these statue birds from place to place on complex roads made only for these giant 747 statue birds and other government offices that they would move around. These 747s were also used for worship. And the first stage, one that you just get into the door, they called it the first stage, and then there was second stage and then third stage. But the first stage, just inside the door, you were required to watch a movie of some type, either in worship or as punishment, depending on what you were there for. And in front of this, they had their control place, or cockpit, as they called it, that kept the time of all their complex worship schedules. Each different ritual had its own ritual attached to it. Each dial had a time schedule, and each one was assigned to these dials. Some of these were called altitude, RPM, and the vacuum ritual, as we understand, was the most regarded and highest prized, sometimes referred to as the suck ritual. Anyway, the problem that we have here, basically, is that what is going to prevent someone 2,000 years from now to realize that a 747 really is a jet and it flies, cars are not houses, and we don't worship a cockpit? Well, if they never realized that fossil fuels were being used, then none of this other stuff would make sense. It would just be another dial or another twist of some metal, that some ornamental or something. It's hanging on the wing. I don't know. Okay, just stick it out there and leave it at that. So the question is, what were these things? All right, well, the fact is that we have to identify the fact that the pyramids are genuinely some type of a collective device. That these here may have been the first models of how to build it, and finally they got it right, building the Gaza pyramid. Now, it's simple. It follows the governing rules of archaeology. It's very simple. It was built in that order, but the thing of it is, these things had a purpose, and the other ones may have just been a prelude to building the Gaza power-generating plant. And it wasn't making any sense back in the 30s and in the 40s when we were digging these things up that there was microwave anything. We weren't paying attention to anything in the microwave bands, and we weren't expecting to find anything remotely interested or remotely identifiable as a microwave in a pyramid. I mean, let's face it, this is a long time ago. Let's leave it there, you know. No, the fact is these people had these powers. That means that they had electricity. That means they had electroplating. That means they did not pound a very, very thin sheet of gold over Tutankhamun's mask. This means that these technologies were in existence, that they had a very simple form, they were very functional, and once more, they were economic and green. Anyone could mix this up in their kitchen sink, use a little bit of lemon juice, bang, there it was. This is not mythical things, and yet at the same time, we base our religion on the fact that technology never existed. The fact is, we're finding out that technology did exist, and that these things are real, that the glider found in Tutankhamun's grave was indeed a working model of a glider. There was ornaments found that is working models of aircraft, and they built radio control aircraft to scale and actually flew it, and it does fly. And this is what I'm trying to say. The fact is, science has never, ever been wrong. Our interpretation of it has. And until we step back a little bit and take a serious look at the science that we are addressing, and some of the concepts that deal with this is just as mystifying as microwaves at a pyramid, then you just have to accept the fact that these forces exist, and you have to accept that the science exists. You have to accept that something beyond your comprehension, like electricity, exists. Okay, it's beyond your comprehension. You know, if you touch it, you hurt. It makes a flash. It makes a spark. But how it actually converts into use into our computers and stuff like that, explain that to me. Normally, we cannot. As people that we use these things, we cannot explain these things because these things are tools. These things are developed tools over time, and yes, we have taken ideas, concepts, and brought them forward. But the thing of it is, where does this stop? It has not stopped. We are exponentially learning more and more. We're exponentially placing more information into libraries, and we're more and more communicating. These things have been mislaid. The base of them have been mislaid. That's the reason why we have to sit back and take a look at the true archaeology of it and the true history of it. And that is the end of part 2. This here is a prep in order to get you to part 3, because again, if you can't understand what we're talking about when we're talking about water, we'll never be able to talk about fish. Good night, and may your God be with you.